Tony here. It was my wife and myself's experience earlier this week to meet with a couple of senior clerics from a church I attend in Norfolk, UK, in our local pub. What we met about is not really of any consequence to this video, but these two senior clerics, both of them to some extent, but one of them in particular, before I share my reading of the most amazing poem by W.B. Yeats called The Second Coming, not about the second coming of Jesus and all that lot. Yeats died in 1939, just about the outbreak of World War II. But before I share that poem, I want just for you all to listen to this. Four of us seated round a table, well, two tables if you like, quite small and typical pub seats, yeah. We had refreshments in front of us, and I was sitting next to one of the clerics directly. Now, we were talking about Palestine, and we were talking about what I consider to be the Israeli genocide. Yeah, I know this is quite likely to get videos blocked and banned and all that lot. I quite understand that, yeah. We were talking about that, and I described to one of these clerics, i.e. the one sitting opposite me, a YouTube video I had seen only very recently, it must have been filmed on a mobile phone, of a mother, and possibly she was in a hospital or a rescue centre or something, and she was snuggling probably 18-month-old, 12-month-old child. Now, this child was, their head was heavily creped, bandaged. I think the upper part of their body had been bandaged as well. Their lips were really drawn in, and they were incredibly pale, yeah, possibly from shock or blood loss. They also had clearly over all of their exposed skin some kind of clear cream. It may have been a cream called flamazine, which is used when people have been severely burnt right down through the layers of the skin, even as far as charring. Flamazine is used to obviously try to retain the bodily fluids and whatever, okay? This child with the totally pale skin, already bandaged and plastered, shocked, was looking up at their mother, and the words were in Arabic, but on the bottom there was an English translation. And barely audible, the child said to her mother, "I saw a really beautiful bird. It was so beautiful, but I couldn't catch it." And then the child kind of went limp and didn't say anything more. Now, I relayed that story, that video, to these two clerics and my wife. The other cleric was sitting opposite. I relayed the contents of that video in that pub to these people. And the cleric seated directly next to me, who is actually considerably taller than me, just nodded. They probably opened their eyes a little. That child, I don't think, even opened their eyes, but they probably opened their eyes just a little bit and nodded. Do you know what? What does that make me think of Christianity? What does that make me think of that person within this Christian church? They nodded. Yeah, they nodded. Yeah, they nodded. Yeah. More to do in that church context later. Not a place for something to say on my video, but this is why I read this from William Butler Yeats. The Second Coming. Never has it been more appropriate and true than now. Especially when the woman, I say it's a woman, okay, doesn't really matter. She nodded. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the centre cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with a lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it red shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches toward Bethlehem. Happy Christmas.